That too. So I looked at this item and I noticed the part that says that there's under the fiscal impact that there's $90,000 from savings as the result of a vacancy of the general counsel. So, you know, can someone explain to me how we're saving anything on the general counsel? Because the former general counsel is sitting on his couch right now being paid by this district and probably by his new employer because it, you know, I think his contract allowed him to be employed, but I didn't come here to talk about the, you know, the former general counsel. I just, you know, it struck me as odd that there's a savings. So I'm hoping that someone can explain that because, like I say, he's being paid. And the other thing is I think that this contract for these attorneys and any attorney for that matter is too much. I heard you make a comment earlier, Ms. Hanson, that you know Myers-Nave is of high integrity, and I don't doubt that. But I don't think we need to pay. We shouldn't have to overpay for integrity. It's sad but true. But you know, these days I guess we do have to pay more for people to have integrity. But anyway, maybe someone can explain how we're saving anything from the general counsel position.
Okay, thank you. And down the road, there will be at some point an agenda item where we will be looking at long-term with Dr. Meyer coming on now. We will be looking at long-term and the organization. Right now, I think Myers-Nave has brought to us a clarity and an integrity and a problem solving and a purposeful nature of their work. I mean, I've been extremely impressed with what they've managed to go in, dig out, and start to actually clean up. It's been very, very helpful for us. So on that, this is 15.7, a 3-month extension of contract with Myers-Nave to provide continue to provide interim general counsel services, I think through November 29th. So I would ask, is there a motion on 15.7, the extension?
Madam President, I would move the board adopt the 3-month extension of the contract with Myers-Nave to provide interim general counsel services.
Motion by Mrs. Mayo, second by Mrs. Denler. Any board comment or questions? Mrs. Mayo?
Would you, Dr. Bernard, would you be able to provide us some substantiation regarding that, the savings?
The salary for the general counsel exceeded $230,000, and so the amount for this extension is a portion of that amount that was there.
And I think part of what I think will be demonstrated down the road is in terms of, oh, no, it's on. It's on. I think I'm speculating here right now until it comes forward to us, but I think part what we're going to find is we may have had an overabundance of services and maybe some expenditures that can be recovered and consolidated, condensed, streamlined, money better spent and less money spent. And I think my guess is we're going to do some recovery by not overexpending, as I believe we have been overexpending from what information I've seen.
That's the plan.
And I think people are going to be probably surprised at recovery, and it may not be, you're looking at the 90,000 here. I think when you look at the bigger picture, you're going to be surprised. So, given that will be down the road. Mr. Lawrence?
And I still don't understand the math or what the amount, when I look at the contract that's provided, what is the amount of the contract? And then I guess separately I'll ask that first. I see term, but then I see provision of legal services and billing billing standards, but do we have the amount?
This is an extension of an existing contract, and it's extended for the 3 months, and that is where the dollar amount came from. The existing contract was not included as a backup. Would that be more beneficial?
It would for me.
Okay. If you'd like, we could maybe hold this and bring it back at the next meeting, if that would be the interest of the board.
I think one problem is the other contract expires before the next board meeting. I think it's September 9th.
It was more than 90,000.
It was up to 100. The dilemma is there's a lapse of time between dates, and that's what Ms. Williams was looking at. I think I think the work has been more elaborate and a lot more cleanup than originally anticipated. And I think myself, I advocate for this in simply the purposefulness of the work, the outcome that we're going to get from this work, and the consistency right now of these services.
There would be a lapse because if you look at the terms, and this one, it begins on September 8th. So that would mean on September 7th, the previous contract would be ending.
And I should have made this inquiry prior, but I'm still unclear how much, this is a contract for $90,000? Is that stated anywhere?
I believe
in
we had an up to 130 originally, and I believe this is, Mr. Richards looks like he wants to.
In the fiscal impact section of the docket, it indicates that it is a $90,000 increase to the existing contract.
$90,000, so that's a $90,000 total, or $90,000 in addition to?
$90,000 to cover the time period from September through the end of the contract at the end of November, for that 3-month period.
It's an up to in addition, because the services for our interim general counsels expires in a week or two. This is an extension to finish the work that has to be done.
So, did we hit trying to articulate the question. I'm wondering, we had a not to exceed amount, is the $90,000 in addition to that, or it's purely $90,000? That in the next 3 months, we will not be billing more than $90,000.
There's a ceiling on this, and it also has been conducted as billable hours. It's not a flat fee. It's been billable hours fee, and that's what we've been working with the last few months with Myers-Navi.
But this is significantly less than the first 3 months. Okay.
It's about the same rate, just a shorter time period. It's extending it to complete the work being done and the overhaul down there and the transition. My concern would be we'd be left without general counsel. And that's not to paint everyone into a corner, it's just a fact. And I think the service and the stability this firm has brought us has been noteworthy. So I'm obviously advocating for this, but it's up to the board to vote. So any other questions? And Mrs. Williams, unfortunately, she's in that march on Washington. She took her family and they're out there. It's one of those probably thousands and thousands of people out there. And so unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight. She wanted to, but she was out marching with her son and 2 grandchildren. I said, hold on to their hands. That's a big crowd.
So I've certainly been impressed by the work that's been extended, but for me, I don't quite understand this well enough to feel comfortable voting affirmatively on it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Then, did I lose track? Did we get a motion?
You have a motion in a second.
Okay, I just didn't see it on the screen. I drift off. It's age and brain cells die every minute of my life. Okay, motion and second, and if there's no board discussion,